Hello! So I just finished Hellblade Senua's Sacrifice. Let's talk about that. So, first of all, here are my immediate thoughts after finishing the game. If you would. Hi. So I literally just finished a little while ago, Hellblade Senua's Sacrifice. So let me talk about the experiences. Would I recommend this game? Yes, absolutely, I would recommend this game. It's, as I said in the Let's Play itself, it's one of my. It's really, it really sort of really high to the top of the games that I have enjoyed so far, and it's really phenomenal. It's just spectacular. It's really one of a kind of an experience, and certainly worth playing if you have the extra money to throw. And it also gives a statement to the big publishers, which is something that I also kind of consider a good thing. It gives a statement that we want this, that the consumers would like to see these kinds of character studies, just very intimate personal experiences, and they would not be afraid to go into these kinds of taboos and taboo subjects. It's really quite an astounding game. I really loved it very, very much. But since this portion is going to be kept spoiler-free, let me just quickly talk about all of the sections. Sound design of the game is just phenomenal. They do such a good job at portraying the psychosis of Senua, and it's really, really remarkable how they do it. I wonder if Bob will show some clips here.
So dark, it's dark, the dark. Only the dead may cross. Only the dead may cross into hell.
Don't know. Maybe. Okay. Now, the graphical details, of course, I would recommend the game to everybody, but with the caveat that your game can run it, because even for me, it was really hard trying to play it and record it at the same time, because recording takes up a considerable amount of VRAM, so, you know, it kind of causes a problem there. But if your computer can run it, definitely buy it. I mean, I mean, personally, I think that because it's a really good and intimate experience, and while it doesn't, of course, portray psychosis exactly accurately, it's as close of a comparison that we can get. It's really quite remarkable in that aspect. Now, the gameplay itself is mostly you are all either walking, you're trying to solve the puzzle. You know, often those rune puzzles, or you are just fighting. That's fine. That's fine. There's a pretty good balance of all of these, and it's not like it ever became really boring, because I really wanted to go through the story, and it was really quite interesting. And of course, it got me. Again. The exploration part of it actually kind of rose up my interest in Nordic mythology and Celtic mythologies just in general, because those are something that I have read quite a bit about, but you can never know enough. So, well, there's a limit to how much there is to know, but you know what I'm saying. Yeah, I have really enjoyed the game. The last few hours were really, really, really intimate and really tense at moments, and they really got me very got me very entranced in the game. So I think it's as a let's play game, it's not really that good, because it's a game that you have to experience. Regardless, it's fantastic. Right, Yanmu in the future, back to you. Write the script and do this thing. So, with the immediate thoughts out of the way, let's get on with the actual thoughts about the game. So first of all, let's talk about the visuals. Now, first of all, Senua herself is actually modeled really well, and they did do like all of her animations with motion capping, and the behind-the-scenes documentary is really interesting to look at. So I highly recommend everybody to check it out on YouTube. I can't remember, there are a few places to check it out, but just check it out because it's pretty cool. Now, Senua herself actually looks rather constipated throughout. Like, she has this weird face going on throughout most of the screen time, especially when she's staring directly at you, like it's just something strange going on with her face. I can't exactly describe it, and I think it kind of detracted from the game, for me at least. For others, maybe not that much, but for me, it kind of detracted from the game. Generally, the backgrounds in the game are actually pretty damn well designed, and they look very, very beautiful if your computer can run it. Now, my computer can run it at medium settings after if I'm not recording, because recording takes up a considerable amount of power from the PC, but regardless, the game looks fantastic. Really, really damn good. So for a AAA indie, it's really, really quite good job with it. They have done a really good job with it. So, yeah. Next of all, the monsters or the enemies you have to fight. I really like how visually distinct each of them is. Like, sure, some enemies look kind of familiar to one another. They look very samey. Like the shadow guys are basically just the first enemies, the feathered enemies, except that they have shadows with them. But that doesn't really bother me that much. There's another part where the actual game becomes visually very interesting, and that is during the hallucinations. Because there's a lot of really cool camera tricks that have been done that they use to signal, or how they actually kind of allude to Senua's hallucination and psychosis like that. And they are kind of hard to explain, so I'll just show them. So, next up, let's talk about audio. So, the background music for the game is actually, in my opinion, surprisingly good, but it's nothing out spectacular. It's something that supports the story quite well, and it definitely isn't overpowering or anything like that. And it's just barely in the background so that it supports the story. Now, once again, the audio department, there's one thing I actually want to highlight from them, and that is, of course, the hallucinations. Now, unfortunately, I played with really low quality earplugs, and that kind of just detracts from this. But if you have like good headset, it would really make the game so much better. I'm probably going to, once I buy myself a new pair of headphones, once I buy a better headset or something, I'll probably try this again. I'll probably play the game again, because the audio design is spectacular. Even with the earphones, I already got pretty good signs of that. Next of all, let's talk about the gameplay itself, because that's rather important. Now, first of all, let me address a rather critical part about the game, and that is the limited amount of continues. Now, I mostly just lost a few times, or died a few times, and in combat, and those were mostly because their frame rate dropped quite a lot, so probably the game isn't spec'd really well for my PC or the low-end machines, but whatever. But the kind of thematic feeling of the limited amount of continues and then having a game over, that's a really bold step at the very least. I would not consider it smart, but it's at the very least makes you very paranoid of every loss, because you feel like you might be one step closer to not having to go through the game again. And that would be that would require quite a lot of effort from your part. Now, second of all, there's a lot of walking in the game, where you're just walking and listening to stories. Now, I don't mind that, because I kind of was invested in the story and wanted to hear what happens next and what revelations came next. So I don't mind that, but you might need to be aware of it. Next of all, there was a lot of combat. Combat was definitely one of the main focus of the game, and it was pretty mediocre. It's fun enough, but it's not very deep. I mean, it doesn't. The game, the combat kind of fluid flows into the actual walking sections really well, because suddenly you're just drawing your sword like, holy shit, what the hell is going on? And it's really, really good at those moments because they come out of nowhere and they're rather surprising, and there is no like switch to UI or anything like that. So it really does a really good job at that. And it makes you really kind of nervous when the next combat encounter is going to happen, because you might immediately just run into an enemy that spawns in. So then the last part that I want to talk about in gameplay is puzzles, because there was a lot of puzzles in the game, and in my opinion they were the best part of the game, because they really made you think laterally. It's really kind of a cool way that they made you think about where you might actually find those runes. Yeah, they were simple, sure, in some parts they were really simple, but overall I think that the basic mechanic of trying to take some objects and maybe align them in a certain manner to make a rune out of them, that's a really cool design concept at the very least. So yeah, I like the puzzles, especially since they very much support the core idea that Senua is suffering from psychosis and interpreting signals where they might not be. And finally, let's talk about the story. So the story is, in my opinion, rather simplistic finally once you're done with the game, because you're just figured out that the shadow is kind of representing Senua's father pretty obviously, and the psychosis is something that her mother was also afflicted by, and she saw her mother being burned alive. It might have been the darkness might be either some kind of plague or rot or something like that, and then, or it might just be Senua's psychosis because she's going freaking bonkers. So it's a very simple story in the end, but it's a good supporting story, and they have really stretched it out to make so that a lot of the gameplay sections really have a lot to do with. They are, in retrospect, they are very effective and very good metaphors for Senua's darkest fears, both with Valraven kind of symbolizing her father and the ever-present threat that he posed, and Surt's level, or the fire challenges, kind of being an example of her mother being burned alive. So that's pretty cool. And of course the 4 challenges that she needed to go through to get the sword they are very good representations of her combating her past memories, and I really liked how those all panned out in the end, and how well they all meshed together to create a very very consistent and clear structure and picture for Senua's past. And it is kind of a hopeful ending at the very least when she finally lets go of her past. Now in the end I'll put in some clips from my favorite moments of the game, and yeah, hopefully you'll enjoy. So for now, thank you very much for watching. Enjoy the rest of the video, and I'll see you in the future. Have a great day and stay awesome. You can move out. It's just, yeah, so focus is pretty useful. This is fucking intense, by the way.
Find the other symbol, you're lost. Let him look at you. Where is he? Don't let it see you. It is. Go towards it. Run. Focus. 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 You've got them. You have them. Where's the door? Find a way out. Find the gate. Get out. Run. 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 Let it look at you. Don't let it see you. It's coming. Move away. You're lost again.
Well, this...
Where are you?
This is a good chase sequence. Holy hell, I'm lost here. Well. Okay.
A well. There's a well.
Don't turn back. You're getting close.
Delia. Help me.
Context.
Well, that was far more intense than it. Why was that so intense?
I can see a light.
Yes. I can see you too.
And now we can finally run. That couldn't have been it. There's no way it's over. This is a bridge, it's gonna break. Just, no. No? Really? Is that it? That was
She could spend hours.
very short. The beast.
Come into my shadow.
There's blood. Breathe the darkness.
You're trying to trick me again with your lies. I know he's here. You took him from me. You have him.
Dillian is gone. Dillian is dead. Let him go.
Or what? What can he do to me that you haven't already?
Betrayed your own father.
Fight me.
You betrayed
Come
the
on.
gods in search of Dillian, in search of love. Look where that's got you. Let go of your battle. Let go of redemption. Let go of Dillian. Don't let your
This
darkness
final sequence is
anyone else.
amazing. Holy hell. I don't know what to tell. This is just... I don't know what to tell you guys. This is just, at the very least, very empowering, but very kind of a somber moment, since we've had to fight so hard previously, and now we're just staring through the enemies like that water,